Yes, I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show.
For many years, fans of the popular car show Wheeler Dealers kept asking the same question: why did Edd China really leave the show? His departure in 2017 came as a shock to millions of viewers around the world. The official explanation at the time was creative differences, but to most people, that felt too clean, too simple, and too quiet for such a major change. After all, Edd and his co-host, Mike Brewer, had built one of the most loved car restoration shows on TV. Their chemistry was natural and their teamwork seemed unbreakable. So when Edd suddenly announced he was leaving after more than a decade, fans were left confused and even suspicious. Many believed there had to be more happening behind the scenes that wasn't being shared. Over the next 8 years, speculation grew. Some said he was unhappy with the direction of the show. Others believed there was tension between him and the network. And then there were rumors about a conflict between Edd and Mike, although both men repeatedly denied this. For a long time, Edd stayed silent about the deeper reasons, choosing not to speak badly about anyone and keeping a calm public appearance. But silence does not stop curiosity. Fans, bloggers, and car communities kept digging and discussing the topic, making videos, writing comments, and creating theories about what had pushed Edd to step away. Then, finally, after 8 long years, Edd China sat down for a new interview and revealed the truth in his usual calm, honest way. What he shared confirmed what many longtime fans had suspected: his departure was not about fame, money, or personal drama. It was about integrity, creativity, and a belief in doing things the right way. To understand why Edd's decision mattered so much, it helps to look back at the early days of Wheeler Dealers. When the show first appeared in 2003, it wasn't expected to become a global hit. It was simple, low budget, and focused on real mechanical work rather than flashy television tricks. The show featured Mike Brewer hunting for used cars with potential and Edd China repairing them step by step in a small workshop. The entire setup was honest and charming. There were no dramatic sound effects, no over-edited scenes, and no fake arguments. Instead, viewers got to watch real repairs, real problem-solving, and real explanations from Edd that made complicated car work seem easy to understand. Fans loved how educational the show was. Many people even learned to fix their own cars because of Edd's clear, detailed demonstrations. Over time, the show grew larger, moving from a small UK studio to international broadcasting in more than 200 countries. But even as it became a global success, the heart of the show remained the same, showing real car restorations without shortcuts. The early seasons had a special feel. There were only a few people on the production team, the filming was straightforward, and everything seemed focused on the joy of restoring old vehicles. Because of this simple and honest approach, Wheeler Dealers became a favorite among viewers who loved cars and wanted a show that respected their intelligence. It was not a show meant to impress audiences with excitement. It was a show meant to teach, inspire, and entertain through genuine skill. And at the center of that authenticity was Edd China. His calm explanations, careful work, and love for engineering made him stand out. This original formula became the foundation of the show's success, and it also became the core of the conflict that would eventually push Edd to walk away. As Wheeler Dealers grew more popular, new challenges arrived behind the scenes. The show was no longer a small British program, it had become an international franchise with millions of viewers and strong commercial value. Networks wanted more episodes, higher production quality, and faster turnaround times. This meant the filming schedule became tighter and more demanding. Cars had to be found, repaired, and sold at a much faster pace. What once took days or even weeks was suddenly expected to be completed much more quickly. These changes began affecting the style and structure of the show. Edd's long, detailed repair scenes, which were the heart of the program, started getting shorter. Instead of showing the full repair process, producers began using quick montages and time-lapse clips. Viewers noticed these changes, and many voiced their concerns online, asking why Edd wasn't explaining things the way he used to. But behind the cameras, the pressure was even greater. Edd was being asked to reduce technical segments because they were considered too time-consuming and expensive to film. Networks wanted the show to feel faster, more entertaining, and more aligned with modern TV trends. In short, the focus was shifting from education to entertainment. Edd tried to adapt, adjusting his approach wherever he could. He still delivered clear explanations, but the available screen time for his detailed work kept shrinking. It became increasingly difficult for him to maintain the level of quality and honesty he believed the audience deserved. Fans sensed something was changing. Some accused the show of becoming too Americanized. Others believed that Edd was being pushed out. While these assumptions weren't entirely accurate, they were close to the underlying truth. The show was evolving into something Edd no longer recognized. And this pressure, combined with new management changes, eventually created the breaking point. The real shift came when the American network Velocity Channel took over production. This move marked a major change in how Wheeler Dealers would be created. Instead of being produced by the UK team that understood the original spirit of the show, it was now guided by a group that wanted to modernize and streamline the format. Velocity had a different vision, one that prioritized speed, polished editing, and broad entertainment appeal. They believed the show needed to fit a more commercial structure to succeed in the United States. This meant shorter repair scenes, more dramatic storytelling, and a tighter schedule. For many TV executives, this made perfect sense. But for Edd China, the change was deeply concerning. In his farewell video released in 2017, Edd calmly explained that the new production team found his detailed repair sequences too difficult and too expensive to film. They wanted him to simplify and shorten these segments significantly. But these scenes weren't just part of the show, they were the show's identity. Edd believed strongly that viewers deserved transparency. If he fixed something, he wanted to show exactly how it was done, not rush through it or skip steps. Cutting corners was not an option. This put Edd in a difficult position. He could continue with the show under the new rules, but he would have to compromise the quality and honesty that made Wheeler Dealers special. Or he could walk away to protect his principles. In the end, he chose the second option. This decision wasn't made lightly. It represented years of frustration and a growing disconnect between Edd's values and the direction the network wanted to take. It marked the moment when the show he helped build was no longer the same show he loved. March 21, 2017, Edd China released a YouTube video announcing that he was leaving Wheeler Dealers. The video was simple, no dramatic music, no angry statements, just Edd speaking calmly from his workshop. But the impact was huge. For many fans, it felt like the end of an era. In the video, Edd explained the reasons behind his decision. What surprised people was how respectful and measured Edd was. He didn't blame Mike Brewer or attack the network. He didn't create drama. Instead, he stood by his principles with quiet confidence. The reaction from fans, however, was anything but quiet. Within hours, social media exploded with comments, theories, and debates. Millions watched the video. Many fans were heartbroken. Others were angry, and some directed their frustration at Mike Brewer, even though Edd repeatedly asked everyone not to blame him. What this reaction showed was how deeply people cared about Edd and his role in the show. It wasn't just about cars. It was about the connection viewers felt with Edd's honesty, patience, and teaching style. His exit felt personal to fans, and it created a wave of emotion across the automotive community. Although the show continued with new co-hosts, something had undeniably changed. The absence of Edd China left a long shadow that lingered for years. And for some viewers, the show never felt the same again. After Edd's departure, the online world became divided. Some fans supported Mike Brewer and believed he had no control over the changes. Others accused him of not fighting hard enough to keep Edd on the show. Unfortunately, the criticism quickly turned into hostility, with some people sending Mike hateful messages and even threats. It reached a point where both Edd and Mike publicly asked fans to stop the negativity. Despite their attempts to calm the situation, rumors continued to grow. Many fans wondered if there had been a falling out between the two men. Even though both Edd and Mike denied any conflict, the fact that they never appeared together again in public made people suspicious. Over the years, Edd spoke carefully about his time on the show. He always stayed respectful but avoided going into deep detail. Mike, on the other hand, sometimes sounded defensive in interviews. This difference in tone only fueled more speculation. Fans searched for clues in every word, every interview, and every public event. The silence between the pair became its own mystery. Was it simply professional distance? Or had the creative changes created emotional space between them? No one knew for sure. What was clear, however, was that the partnership that once looked unbreakable had quietly ended. In the world of television, disagreements are common, and not all friendships survive big transitions. But the lack of any reunion, even for nostalgia, left fans with more questions than answers. These unanswered questions made Edd's eventual explanation in his new interview even more important. It was the moment everyone had waited for, the moment when he finally spoke openly after 8 years. 8 years after leaving the show, Edd China finally opened up in a new interview and confirmed what many viewers had suspected all along. The reason he left wasn't personal drama, fame, or a desire to move on. It was because the show had changed into something he no longer believed in. In the interview, Edd said he didn't want to leave the show at first. He loved what Wheeler Dealers originally stood for. But over time, he felt pressured to cut corners, skip important steps, and make repairs look easier than they really were. This bothered him deeply. Edd even admitted that during his final seasons, he began to dislike the version of himself he was becoming on camera, someone who wasn't able to fully explain the repairs and share the real process with viewers. He said he felt like he was pretending, and that wasn't who he wanted to be. For Edd, the show wasn't just entertainment, it was a way to teach people and inspire them to learn more about cars. When that purpose started to disappear, he knew he had to walk away. The interview spread quickly across social media, car forums, and YouTube channels. Fans felt relieved to finally hear the truth directly from Edd. Many said his honesty made them respect him even more. His explanation confirmed that he left out of principle, not conflict. He simply could not continue being part of a show that no longer represented the values it once had. It was a powerful moment of closure for fans who had been wondering for nearly a decade. After leaving Wheeler Dealers, Edd China did not disappear from the public eye. Instead, he took full control of his creativity by launching his own YouTube show, Workshop Diaries. In this series, Edd returned to his original style, calm, detailed, patient mechanical work with no rush and no pressure. The episodes focused on real engineering, real learning, and real effort. Fans who missed the old Wheeler Dealers style quickly found comfort in these videos. While the viewership numbers weren't as huge as the TV show, the audience was deeply loyal. People appreciated the honesty and the passion Edd brought to each project. Beyond YouTube, Edd continued attending car shows, giving talks, and working on eco-friendly vehicle projects. He also explored electric conversions and sustainable engineering, showing he was still excited about the future of automotive technology. Meanwhile, Wheeler Dealers continued with new co-hosts like Ant Anstead and later Mark Elvis Priestley. The show remained popular, but for many viewers, the absence of Edd never fully faded. In comments sections and forums, fans still compare the old episodes with the new ones. Many say that while the show is still enjoyable, it lacks the special charm that Edd brought, the slow, satisfying, educational repairs that made viewers feel like they were learning alongside him. Today, Edd's legacy lives on not just through his years on the show, but through the honesty, integrity, and transparency he continues to share with his audience. His decision to leave Wheeler Dealers may have been difficult, but in the end, it reinforced his reputation as someone who values principles over popularity. And for many fans, that makes him unforgettable. Another part of Edd China's story that often gets overlooked is the emotional weight he carried during his years on Wheeler Dealers. To many viewers, Edd was simply the tall, calm mechanic who solved complicated problems with ease. But behind the scenes, he was dealing with pressure that grew slowly over time. Every season demanded more cars, tighter schedules, and bigger expectations. The production team wanted the show to look bigger and faster, especially after it moved to America. But Edd had to do the real mechanical work, and each car required hours of care that nobody saw. Even though the episodes made everything look smooth, the reality was far more intense.